Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing part 2 of my sister's wedding vlog. We are going to be talking about how the proposal went, why did it take so long to get married, and we'll probably talk a little bit of some issues that they gone through in order to get to where they got to. If you have not subscribed to my channel, go ahead and subscribe for more videos. And we'll be back after the intro.
I got grace everywhere I be, with blessings falling on me. There's nothing too hard for the God that I serve. Tell me, why should I be afraid? No matter what comes my way, I'll overcome with a smile.
So I wanted my sister and my brother-in-law to be sitting here already, but they want a big entrance. So let's welcome Elizabeth and Victor. Just to clarify, I did not want a big entrance. It was him. Welcome to my couch, by the way. It's pretty comfy. So to start off, the details that I remember from my end, Elizabeth and Victor, they were kind of always going out. I would rarely see my sister because she was just always doing her thing. And I remember I started having a really weird feeling, a feeling that something was off in their relationship as boyfriend and girlfriend. And I don't know why, I just felt the need to text her and ask her like, hey, like, I didn't know how to bring it out, but I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, like how I text her. And because me and her didn't have that type of relationship to talk like that, so I sent her a text and I was like, hey, like, I have a question, like, are you still like a Virgin Mary? Like, I didn't know how to bring it up. And she like straight up like did not answer me that text message. I want them to talk about the day that Victor went to go ask my dad for my sister's hand.
I actually got into contact with Jessica and I told her if she could take Elizabeth out that day so I can go to her parents' house to ask for permission to marry her. And I got a call from Jessica. She's like, hey, so we actually think that Elizabeth's pregnant. And I was like, wait, what? I had no clue how to handle that. I remember telling my mom that Elizabeth was sick and that she's gonna go to the hospital, so I'm gonna go meet up with her to make sure everything's okay. The funny thing is, my mom actually asked me, is she pregnant? And I was scared, so I lied to my mom and said no. So that day, I was supposed to meet up with my mother-in-law and father-in-law, and I was gonna ask them for their blessing to marry their daughter. And that was the same day that we actually found out that Elizabeth was pregnant.
So when we came home, we told my parents. After that, Victor wanted to show proof, like, hey, like, we're not getting married because we're having a baby, but hey, I have an engagement ring for her. Here's the proof. He was ready to propose. He was like nervous, and then I was nervous, and Jess was just like the support system, you know, holding it all together. So after, obviously, you guys can see that they were not doing things the way they were supposed to do it. You know, they first had to ask, you know, the blessing from my parents, then do the engagement, and then she had to say, yes, I want to marry you, and then get married, and then have a baby. But I guess we both kind of did it backwards. Nobody told us that. We didn't have any...
Someone forgot to leave out the details.
Yeah, we kind of did it backwards. We didn't know there was an order to follow. After they found out they were pregnant, Victor messaged me again, and obviously it was still in his plans to get married. And then he planned an engagement, which I actually have bits and pieces of your engagement video. So if you guys want to see how he proposed to her, you guys can wait till the end and just see like a little glimpse of how he proposed. Let's talk about after you guys got married through court. Like, how did you guys feel? So since Victor already had an engagement ring, that was not the problem. But what we did decide is that we weren't gonna live together until after we get married. So that's why we decided to push our marriage to get married through court a little bit faster than originally planned. So we postponed our big wedding in order to live together because that's something we both decided and we both wanted, so that we wouldn't be living in sin. We made the error of, you know, having sex before marriage
And now it's like, okay, we learned from that, and now we have to continue to make wiser choices. So the wise choice was to get married before living together.
So after you guys got married through court, you guys started living with each other, and I know that I know I witnessed a lot of struggles that you guys went through because of your disobedience of having, you know, intimacy before marriage, and that actually brought them consequences. And I want to see if you guys can talk a little bit of your consequences.
Starting off the wrong way that we started off, it already opened doors for our relationship. So it did open like doors of lying, of for me, had a lot of anger issues, stuff where we never really were able to take the time to actually get to know each other, in a sense, like be able to show her my bad side and she showed me her bad side. So we kind of had to rush into our relationship, like, here's my bad side, here's your bad side. And with that, it just caused a lot of problems, circumstances that we didn't know how to deal with.
We weren't mature enough yet to be parents. We weren't mature enough in our relationship yet, and I think that we rushed everything, and we should have been patient with everything. I think one of the things that was very important that we also learned is that we weren't financially stable. I think that's a big one. Not being able to have your own place, your own privacy, so that you just can grow with each other without any other people around, and setting their expectations when we need to learn of each other, and setting our own expectations, and just that privacy, I think, is another one. Besides our finances, the privacy, we did not have that. We weren't prepared for it. Our jobs were not stable enough to provide a home of our own, you know, whether it was an apartment or a house. Like, that's very important.
Communication. We had no communication. We didn't know how to communicate with each other because you didn't know how she was gonna react or how I was gonna react, and trying to avoid problems, and all it was really truly doing was making the problem bigger.
You know, you can be super expressive but not use the appropriate words, and instead we were using damaging words instead of healing words, which those damaging words started causing resentment in our marriage within each other, you know, holding that resentment or saying we let it go, but in reality we're holding on to those words in back of our minds, you know. That starts causing other situations to become bigger because we still have that resentment from the past situation.
I think another area that I can touch that I saw that affected their marriage before getting married, you know, through church and all that, was that their marriage was not godly centered. Like, they did not have God in the middle of it all. And I think that's one area where, you know, as she mentioned, financially they were not stable, so they couldn't be planning a big wedding because their focus was on their kids, and that's understandable, but they were leaving God outside of the picture. And maybe you can talk a little bit about that, about leaving God outside of your marriage.
Something that happened in our marriage, we didn't have God in the center. I think our focus was getting him a better job, you know, considering whether I was going to stay at home mom or I was going to be a working mom. Not just that, but other people's comments also can affected our relationship. So we weren't confident in our relationship. We weren't certain of the decisions we were making. So we were all over. We were a mess. There was like no order, you know, no guidance from God. There was no wisdom, you know. We were just making decisions as we go. So we never thought of a big picture. We just went by the moment. That really led into other situations. So definitely, you know, when God's in the center, your relationship is totally different.
I think that leaving God out of our marriage took a huge effect on our lives. We're so focused on me getting a better job, also with all the influences around us. Sometimes I've noticed when you see people like doing good things or going out and having fun, you start focusing on that more. You start focusing on everybody else's life, and you kind of start wanting to chase after that instead of focusing on what really matters. That's one huge thing of not having God in your life. When you don't have God in the center of our marriage, we weren't focused on what was the next step that God wanted for us. It was more, okay, what can we get next? What car can we get next? Or when can we go shopping? Or when can we splurge or go on vacation for ourselves? When we didn't even have the money to do that. And because we were so focused on that mindset, we tried to chase after those dreams, and we put ourselves in a very bad financial situation. Leaving God out of that does not allow us to make wise decisions on our finances, on our love for each other. Instead of that, we're just focusing on everything around us.
So as they started getting more involved in church, I saw how God has been allowing them to grow spiritually, and in many ways God has prepared them as an individual to be able to find their identity in Christ, and I think that helped a lot. And after they found their identity in Christ and they started serving the Lord and they started doing their part in ministries, I saw that their mindset was shifting to a different focus. Can you talk about the process and what helped you guys transition into God's things?
The process was really hard. I started making that step. He desired God, but he wasn't making that step. It was just me and my daughter going to church, and then he would attend sometimes. That process was very difficult, to be able to grab my child and wanting him to go, but he wouldn't want to, And so it was always an argument. It was always on a Sunday, like I would end up crying, or something like that. Or just upset, or he was upset. So you can't force someone to go to church if they don't want to. With time, the Lord started speaking to me, and something that the Lord revealed to me and was very specific about it was, you seek me and I will take care of your husband. So being obedient to that, I gave it 100% my all with my daughter on my hip. I served and I started getting involved in ministries. He can tell you his part.
It was definitely a journey. It was a struggle, a hard struggle, because I wanted to go to church, but at the time we were going to a church that was, it was only one language, and I didn't speak the language. And so I would go to church and I would just feel angry because I was like, I don't understand what's happening or what's being said. I was angry with it. Not at the church, but just at the fact that I didn't know what was happening. It really discouraged me a lot, to where I was like, what's the point of being here? God can't talk to me if I don't understand. And because I didn't have God in my life, it caused a lot of jealousy. If I'm being honest, I did start accusing her of cheating on me. I was very angry with her, and she knows that. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. But that allowed, again, when we say that we didn't have Christ in our lives, when you don't have God in the center of your marriage and in the center of your heart, it opens doors for you. I opened that door to let the enemy say things about my wife, and I started to believe that about my wife. I started to think she was doing things behind my back, when the whole time she was just actually going to serve. I even gave her problems as she was serving. I was trying to pull her back and get her out of the church, while God was trying to pull her in the church.
A few months later, I finally got him to attend to a retreat with me, and I think that was the best decision. It was a young adults retreat, and that changed our lives for sure. So when he started going to church, I didn't realize, I prayed for a godly man, but I wasn't ready for it. And because I wasn't ready for what I was praying for, without even acknowledging it, he was so involved that I started making comments, and he needed to balance both the marriage and ministry, and he was just learning. So I was attacking instead of supporting or helping. So if you're praying for a godly man, ask God for you to prepare you for that godly man too. So it's not just one way, but both ways. Wow, that's terrible. I think that's very true.
That's a good prayer. Pray for a godly man and be prepared for it. So we can see that God has really been working with you guys since the beginning. And because of their disobedience, they were going through their struggles individually, as a marriage, financially, emotionally, spiritually, in many, many ways. But through it all, God has prepared them to be that example as a godly marriage. So once you guys both started getting involved after attacking each other and trying to either, go serve together and then pull each other out and all that struggle, you guys finally decided to get married. And how did that come about?
So I think that this is something we really wanted. Like every year we would say, let's have our wedding this year. This is the year. But then it wouldn't happen. I know that God was preparing us spiritually and to do it for the right reason. And it was to honor him. And so that took about a good 7 years into our marriage until we were able to do that. And this is 2021 is the year that it happened unexpectedly.
We sat down and we saw where we were standing at the moment, and we were like, well, why don't we try to go for our wedding? And that, I want to say that day we actually went and we drove over to the venue. That way we can make it official and say, you know, we're doing this. There's nothing that's going to stop us. We can't back out. We need to finally honor God in our marriage. We were growing spiritually, and I think that's something that we were truly missing in our marriage, is that we never honored God and we never asked God to actually be in the center of our marriage.
I think that we finally learned to put him first. We finally learned it's his will, not our desires, not to prioritize what's the materialistic thing, to not idolize the things of this world. So we started seeing God's glory in our lives, and we had it wrong the whole time, you know. So most of the time, the way we think it's, I'm gonna pray for this, I'm gonna pray for that, I'm gonna pray for that, I'm gonna pray for that, like we just want to receive, but we never give. We never really gave our all. We were just idolizing the things of the world, when that didn't really bring us happiness or joy in our lives. The Lord provides that joy. It's not the materialistic things. It's not a car or a house or a vacation or things like that. Like, hey, like we don't live for those things. We live for the Lord, and that should be our ultimate goal. Let God provide the rest of it. Let God align the rest of it.
It's not about what the world has. It's about what God wants you to do to impact this world. What can we do to change this world for God? And I think that was one amazing thing that really changed for us, was instead of focusing on that, we focused our eyes on what God had for us and honoring him. And as we were doing that, he was taking care of everything else for us. And we didn't really realize that until we sat down one day and actually saw, like, hey, God is really taking care of everything for us while we were serving him. And I think that was a huge blessing in our lives. It made us realize, like, this is where we need to make the big step and honor him in our marriage.
Even until this day, you know, we'll write down our goals, but it doesn't mean we're gonna set like, hey, this is gonna happen this year. Like, no, we're gonna leave it in God's hands and we'll work for it, but when it happens, it will happen. We're really thankful for each person who has been a part of our journey, because each person God has used to help mold us. Most of the time we don't want to be corrected. We want to stay in our old ways.
We're very thankful for all the help. There's so many people in our lives that made such an impact, and we thank God for those people. All those who were there were continuing to be there for us through this process of having our wedding. I can tell you guys, you do not understand what happened as we were trying to get to our wedding day. The enemy was attacking more than you believe, and I'm not playing. Till the very last day, the morning that we woke up, the morning of our wedding, we had gotten attacked that morning. And that really opened up my eyes to see that the enemy does not want us to honor God. The enemy does not want to see you glorify God. He doesn't want you to ask God to be a part of your lives. He will do anything for you to point the finger at God. And I think that as we were going through this process of getting through our wedding day, that was a huge test for us. The enemy will tell you so many lies. And I could not believe how much I saw what he was trying to do to stop our marriage. But the one thing I will not hesitate to say is God came through. And God showed that he was stronger than the enemy, and that he will always beat the enemy for his own plan. So put God first, and I promise you, you cannot lose.
So there you guys have it, part 2 of their testimony. And if you have not checked out the wedding vlog, you guys can check it out on my channel. And we are going to end this with
marriage is hard. Don't have sex. Don't have oral sex, because God still knows what you're doing, and that doesn't mean you're getting married correctly.
You don't even think about it, because God sees your brain.
Like, he sees everything you do. Now, we're not telling you what to do, but we're saying meditate on your life, and it's between you and God.
And honestly, the Lord would prefer you to be single, because then you can focus on him anyways. So if you're thinking about it, just don't do it.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Like, as you know, when people are dating, the temptations come, you know, sexually. Like, let's be honest, like, the hormones are there, like, it's tempting, and we both failed. But by God's grace, you know, he forgave us, he has lifted us up, he has restored us, and he has taken us to new places. And we both had the consequences of our actions. Although our outcomes were different, but I can see that God came through for them and God came through for me. And God is still doing things in our lives, and we're very, very grateful. You know, like Victor said, if you're single, you know, enjoy your singleness, serve the Lord, give your all to the Lord, and God is going to bring you the right person at the right time. You know, it doesn't matter how old you are. Like, if you're not ready for marriage, don't think about marriage. If you're not ready for marriage, don't start dating. If I can give you an advice, is heal yourself, find yourself in the Lord, and be mentally healthy. Be ready to receive your person. Because if you guys are emotionally healthy, both of you guys, and you guys have God in the center of both of your guys' heart, God is going to do a big thing in the marriage. But if you guys are both struggling, you know, mentally, emotionally, financially, you're gonna get through it with God by your side, but it's gonna be harder. You're gonna have consequences. You're gonna have a lot of lessons to go through.
He has to break all those old habits to build a new foundation.
And I mean, just don't do nothing that you're not supposed to do before marriage, because it opens doors. Believe it or not, argue with us. We've been there. We've done that. I mean, you have a choice of how you want to live. But, you know, it's just think about what you're doing before you get married. There you guys have it. Everything that, I mean, there's still some things that we're missing, but we don't want to, you know, extend this. Yeah, we don't want to prolong the video. But if you haven't watched the wedding vlog, go ahead and watch it. And I'm going to put a little glimpse of the engagement, of how he proposed, and stay till the end to watch the bloopers. And do not forget to subscribe to my channel. And there's new things coming, you know, from the Arteagas, and new things that God is doing. And they're probably even thinking about starting
A podcast.
a marriage podcast coming soon, 2022.
Keep on the lookout.
Yes, we don't know when God is going to start it, but God is already working in that. So if you guys have any comments, any advice, anything that you guys want us to talk about, go ahead and comment down below. And we're here to pray for you guys. Any suggestions, if you guys need advice for a relationship, or I don't know, just something, we are here for you guys. And don't forget to share the video. And remember that God loves you all the time.
Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Oh, sorry. Say it. Oh, we're not having entrance?
Oh, you guys want an entrance?
I was gonna go.
Oh.
This is weird.
Why?
She's being awkward.
These people don't know how to act in front of a camera.
Well, that's true.
I guess.
I have like a paper that
No,
makes you
no,
look like
no,
you're
no.
legit, like you're Oprah. Where are we supposed to be looking? Just
At the camera. So,
We can look at each
But,
other,
like,
because I need that.
I feel like if you ask me
Are
quick,
you doing this right over?
let's start all over.
I like to try all over.
What?
Remember I text you?
Yes, and I lied.
Okay.
Come on, bro. Do we need to write a script for you?
That's fine.
She just criticized me on saying and what did she just do? So
This is good.
You were a little all over the place. Getting confident now. I was not attacking you. That was because of the kids that are.
I mean, you kind of were attacking
thank
him.
you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Like, daughter, you ain't my daughter.
Sorry about that, Jessica.